Welcome to the Warframe Weapon Encyclopedia, where today we're checking out the Furis. You can get the blueprint for the Furis from the market, and the weapon is very cheap. You just need some credits, ferrite, alloy plate, salvage, and a few neurodes. The Furis is a Mastery Rank 2 bullet hose secondary that does primarily puncture damage with a little bit of impact and slash on the side. It has pretty high fire rate, a decently sized magazine, a reload time of 1.4 seconds, and it comes with very low crit but actually decent status. It also has its own weapon-specific augment called Winds of Purity, which gives you 20% lifesteal, so 20% of the damage you do is leached back to you as a life, and it gives you the Purity effect, which, once you gather enough affinity, will cause a 25-meter explosion that does 1000 corrosive damage and procs corrosive on any enemy it hits, and it also restores 25% of your maximum health and boosts your base health by 25% for 30 seconds. Now, since you can get the Furis very early on, let's check out a basic build first, which is gonna look kind of like this. The one important thing here is that you put on some kind of ammo mutation, because while the Furis isn't like terribly ammo inefficient, it doesn't have a lot of spare ammo, so you will run out fairly quickly. This build will allow you to pretty much cruise through the early stages of the star chart, and also if you manage to get the Winds of Purity augment at some point, I would highly recommend you try to squeeze that one in there as well. If, however, you want to squeeze a little bit more out of your Furis, I would instead recommend running a build like this, where we actually take advantage of the status the weapon comes with, so we can proc some status effects, and we also run the Winds of Purity augment for the life reach and the Purity effect. And you should of course still run some kind of ammo mutation, though if you're really willing to invest more forma into the Furis, I would move it into the exile slot and then run more damage or more status or something like that in the actual weapon itself. What you have to bear in mind though is that this doesn't really supercharge the weapon. It pushes it up to sort of level 50-ish, but that is about it. This weapon can't really scale beyond that. You can of course push the weapon a little bit higher if you get yourself a well-rolled Riven, especially since the Riven disposition on the weapon is very high, but just don't expect too much from it. It is, at the end of the day, a dirt cheap Mastery Rank 2 weapon. That doesn't mean the weapon is bad though. It does a decent enough damage in the early game, and the Winds of Purity mod is actually very nice, because at this stage of the game you don't really have that much recovery when it comes to life. So you can use it as sort of a defensive weapon. When you get low on life, you can switch to it, leech your life back, and maybe get the Purity explosion to go off to get a nice bit of AoE. Which is why I would actually recommend this weapon if you're looking for something a little bit more defensive, because this is basically as good as it gets in the early game. Also, if you get tired of it or you grow out of it, you can simply build another one and turn them into the A-Furis, the akimbo version of this weapon, though that one unfortunately can't use the Winds of Purity augment. So even though the weapon does have some ammo issues and the damage isn't great, I would still recommend it for the Winds of Purity mod. And that's pretty much it for the video, so I thank you very much for watching as always guys, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.